Welcome to the Smoke and Rope Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Basor, and today is episode 78. And super excited to have on the show for the first time Isaac Liebes from GreenLight Energy Conservation, but should be called GreenLight Energy Auditors. Isaac, thanks for being on.
Yeah, pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, we got a cool announcement we just did a little while back we'll get into today. But first, Tom Beller at Real Leaf, he's here, not on vacation, so appreciate your presence.
Well, you'd be the only one. Now, they're supposed to be on a cruise ship, but with the CDC recommending that people don't go on cruises, we decided we're just going to stay home. So we're making the most of it.
Yeah, you can always rent something on Torch there. So, Kevin over at True, looks like in a different office today. Excited, maybe over at the new building with the new harvest coming down. So, Kevin, what's happening?
So we're actually at the old building today.
Oh.
We had our first harvest at the new building over the weekend, and then we've had a super busy week trying to get that turned over. And then we were harvesting at the old building today. We kind of pushed around our schedule to accommodate some other things yesterday. And then when I found out Isaac was going to be on the show today, I honestly was going to back out because we're so busy. But when I found out Isaac was on, I was like, I can't back out on this one. So I'm excited to have Isaac on the show. He's done a ton for us, and I want to come on and tell a little bit about what happened and how things went. So excited for Isaac to be on the show.
Yeah, me too. And I'm excited for all the listeners out there, downloading the podcast and in the industry. Take a listen. And if you're, someone, say you're over at Dart Bank and, listening and you guys have growers that could benefit this and their foundation, think about that. We'd love you to spread the word. It's an awesome program. Everybody wins. And with that, I'll get into, introducing Isaac. Isaac reached out to me through LinkedIn originally, and I do get a lot of LinkedIn emails and a lot of messages. And Isaac's was obviously not a spam one or the one that says, "Hey, we're both in marijuana. Why don't we talk?" So after a couple of times and reaching out and him being persistent, keep following up with me. Talked to some other people I know. I finally jumped on a call and was glad that I did. And Isaac flew out to Michigan to see clients, but also took the time to. My weakness is when people buy me drinks and food at Art's Pub in Lansing, so we took advantage of that, and I really checked out this program because we can't be putting the foundation's name on something that's not legit. That'd be just a really bad thing. So. Isaac, you're not from Michigan. You're doing a lot of work for Michigan. Why don't you give everyone a little background on yourself personally, and then the company and how you got into cannabis?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Ryan, for that introduction, and thank you everybody really for inviting me on the show. It's a real honor. I'm really excited about it. I think. On the outside, maybe I look a little calm, but my inside is like those contestants on The Price is Right, where they'd run down there all excited. Don't worry, Ryan, no kisses on the cheek like Bob Barker style, but I'm still thrilled to be here and really appreciate it. So like you mentioned, I'm not from Michigan. I'm born and raised in New Jersey, Jersey Shore boy. Grew up in a small town in Monmouth County called Marlboro, New Jersey. So, of course, growing up as a kid, everybody was always teasing me if that's where the cigarettes are from. It's a little ironic now to be working in the cannabis space. But our company, GreenLight Energy Conservation, is quite a mouthful. And to be honest, and Ryan, we've talked about it a couple of times, it really, as it relates to cannabis, it's really would have been better off had we separated a division and really just called it Green Utility Auditors, because I don't want our message, and we'll get into exactly the process of our program and what we focus on, but I don't want the message to be lost and get confused. When you hear green light, you think lighting, maybe you think grow lighting, and it's really totally unrelated to what we do focus on with our utility audit division. But that said, just as a way of a little background on our company, based here in Jersey, really service a variety of different sectors in the real estate world through different ways of focusing on conservation. So our core division does focus on lighting, which is why the name GreenLight Energy Conservation. We have a very robust lighting division that goes out to commercial properties, hotels, nursing homes, all sorts of commercial real estate to upgrade their lights to LEDs, energy efficient lighting, and all that. We also have a very, very strong presence when it comes to water conservation. So we'll go out to multifamily properties, help upgrade the water fixtures, whether it's the shower heads, the faucet aerators, the toilets, to water efficient equipment, save a lot of money for the managers and landlords when it comes to those type of buildings. And then finally, we have the division that is related to the cannabis industry, and that is the utility bill audit division, which really doesn't get involved in the equipment itself or any of the actual production process that you might have. It's strictly focused on reviewing utility bills, going through those bills with a fine-tooth comb and just understanding every line item, all the charges, and making sure that you're properly being billed. So that division was really born organically out of our lighting division, where we were going in and processing rebates that were offsetting the cost of investing in LED lighting. And then it was just a byproduct of becoming familiar with utility companies and their billing practices that really led us to this audit service that we now focus on cannabis today.
No, that is awesome. Awesome. So tell us how you first jumped into Michigan and the clients maybe that you're obviously proud to talk about. And, Kevin's one of them here as well. Talk about how you took that first step and, like some of your, I guess, I know the sale, I've been a lifelong salesman, so I always appreciate a good cold call story. How you got Rare on board is funny. I do like that one. Talk about that, and then after that we can start talking about what you actually do and how you can actually benefit all these growers.
Yeah, sure. So we started out really in Colorado, 2016, 2017. The market was booming over there. There were a lot of grows online, and really we thought that looking at cannabis businesses as a way to save energy and really focused on utility audits would be something that made a lot of sense, just because of the sheer nature of how much energy is consumed in an indoor grow, and really, and a whole nother subject is just how busy they are, right? I mean, how much everybody's pulled in so many different directions from the over-regulation standpoint and the other challenges that they face. So it really made sense to take a look at cannabis. So we started out in 2017 with the Denver market. It sort of snowballed from there, where we rolled through probably 50 to 60 different cultivations just in Colorado alone. Had tremendous success, built up quite a name over there. And then it so happened to be that one of our clients that operated in Colorado also was opening a grow in Detroit. And so they asked us to take a look at their facility there. And we did ultimately come through with some savings for them. And that turned us on to the Michigan marketplace. With touching on the story you mentioned with Rare and with Patrick, it's really tough. It was also a LinkedIn start, Ryan. You are special, but not so special in the way that LinkedIn was the way I reached out. But I reached out to Patrick through LinkedIn, and you have to be personable in this game. And like yourself, I'm a student of sales. You have to stand out. You have to find a way to be creative. And with Patrick, it was noticing his dog Rob in the picture on his profile. So I had initially started a conversation around his dog Rob, and to a certain point that was working. And then I recall that he mentioned he had actually been planning to go to Mexico and Cancun. So when I found myself there on my brother's bachelor party, I couldn't resist. I shot him a quick selfie video of myself and my brother on a Friday afternoon on some jet skis, and just told him, hey, I'm thinking of you. We're out here. I might be in sunny Mexico, but I'm thinking of you up in snowy Michigan, and my focus is on trying to save you guys some money. And he took that. He appreciated that. He had that forwarded over to his director of cultivation, Ashley, and together as a team, they invited me down to their grow in Jackson and really took a look at our program and ultimately gave us the green light, no pun intended. And we've been off and running ever since.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, Isaac. I used to do in the beginning. I know Ryan did it as well. We used to do door-to-door sales. And talk about having to have some creativity. As soon as you walk in the door, people want to be like, "Get the hell out!" We're not interested. But the easiest thing I found, and you've obviously touched on it, is if you can make somebody laugh then that becomes personal. You know what I mean? And next thing you know, you're having a conversation about something else. You earn their trust, and then you shift the focus to the business situation, and you can kind of develop it from there. So I respect that whole tack that you pulled with Patrick. I think that's genius. You guys did an audit for us, super easy. I've had several people contact me over the years about doing audits, and it's back and forth through emails, and it just gets complicated. What is it about what you guys do that makes it so streamlined? You literally flew out to my facility. You came to Michigan. You visited with Ryan, stopped by my facility for I don't even know, half hour, and then sent out your team. They came out and took a look, and that was a quick process, maybe a half hour of them doing some walking around, looking at the different items that we have, and then looking at our utility bills. And so what makes it more streamlined for you guys than some of the other guys that are doing things in the business?
Well, thanks for the kind words again, Kevin. I think what really makes us stand out is how we're focused. We're laser focused on what we know best. And what we know best is the utility bills and all the charges. Not so much when it comes to the actual equipment itself and the efficiencies. And there's you guys know, Tom and Kevin, every harvest has so much in terms of importance, the dollar amounts associated with it. You really can't afford to experiment and tinker around and hope that someone's going to save you a little bit of money just at the expense of the product and the harvest, right? So you can't really afford that. When it comes to us and our program, we're really just focused on the bills. We're not interrupting anything with your day-to-day grow and process or the equipment itself. So we're able to just come in and really focus on what we do best. Stay out of your hair. We don't interfere with daily operations, and just be focused on what we do best and really demand minimal time. That's another thing. Nobody has extra time in this industry. And if you do, you're probably not long for it. So
what type of things are you finding, Isaac?
Oh, there's a litany. With Kevin, it was a classification type of mistake that's tied into the state taxes. There are so many. If you go on the website of these utilities, and it's all black and white. It's there. It's just a matter of really taking the time to understand it and go through it and figure out what's best for your particular business and property. But there's anywhere between 10 to 15 different categories that the utility can classify you as and bill you on. And even within those, there's some other different ways that they could break it down, whether you're a large user, small user, and there's different tariffs that apply to everything. So, personally myself, I'd be lying if I told you I understood everything, because every utility is really different, even though it follows a lot of the same pattern. But that's why we have a team back in our office that literally 24 hours a day, they're reviewing, constantly learning, constantly evolving, and understanding different ways that you can set up businesses. And through our experience in cannabis, we found that even a small, subtle difference can add up big time when you factor in how much power you're consuming and what it looks like on an annual basis.
So how does that work for the listeners, people listening, the growers out there, people who know growers and want to do them a favor by hooking Isaac up with them? What's the risk and reward?
Yeah, there's really no risk aside from maybe a couple minutes to pull a recent bill, because our process is really just to evaluate one recent complete copy of the water, sewer, gas, electric bill. So it's really that simple. Just from taking a look at one bill, we can determine from the structures that we see on those bills, and maybe a little bit of digging and understanding within the utilities websites of what you are being charged right now, and if there's any potential to pursue savings. So it's a real easy ask, and that is to just take a look at one recent complete copy of those bills to see if there's anything out there. From there, we won't make contact with the utility on your behalf until we've explained to you what we think we found and what we want to do. That's always a big touch. That's a sensitive subject. People are always concerned. Are you going to go back to my utility? How's it going to affect my relationship with them? Saving money is good, but we need the lights on, of course.
Yeah, Isaac, it seemed to me that once you guys submitted the paperwork, the turnaround time on getting paid was lightning quick. Does that gives me the inclination that these utility companies are anticipating this, that they're aware of the situation? How is this not illegal?
Well, yeah, it's a good question, Kevin. It's not so much that they anticipate it or not. it's really, when it comes to utilities, it's really up to the end user to be an educated consumer and understand what they're being charged. As ridiculous as that may sound, it's really, the burden really falls upon the end user. And so they're not going to go out there, knock on your door and do door-to-door sales and tell you, hey guys, you should save some money, right? It's really up to you guys to understand what's happening and approach them with it. So it's not illegal so much as that the rate codes and classification types that are out there are perfectly fine and acceptable for a lot of different business types. It's just somewhat of a gray area, or you need a level of expertise to understand, based on your facility and your usage patterns, what is ideal for you. So I hope that answers your question in regards to that, Kevin.
Well, let me ask you this. You guys do a lot of audits. Do you always seem to find issues, or is there times that you guys review stuff and there's nothing wrong and you guys just have to move on to another deal? I mean, it seems to me, if people aren't aware that they're being overcharged, that this is a big deal.
Yeah, no, there are plenty of times, in full transparency, plenty of times we go through a bill, we throw up our arms and we say, hey, you guys can rest easy. There's nothing more that we can add to it. And just keep an eye if anything changes. If you feel anything changes, let us know. We can monitor for them. But, it's not a guarantee. It's not a slam dunk that we will find anything. But on the flip side, what we're asking for isn't too time consuming and too big of a deal. All we want to do is really look at one bill. So, worst case, there's absolutely no charge up front. There's no risk of having us take a look. And we even tell people who are extra sensitive, you want to redact your account information, your account number, your address, go ahead. It's not stuff we're looking at. We're really just looking at the structures and how you're set up.
So Isaac, we just went through this with me. It's only been a week or so since we got our first credit with the Board of Water and Light. I haven't had a chance to really follow up with you about this, but is this something that we're going to want to have you monitor on a regular basis going forward, or is it now corrected in the system and you foresee this kind of righting itself moving forward?
Yeah, well, theoretically it's corrected and it should be good moving forward, but it wouldn't be the first time where down the road, a year or two later, things change, you're expanding, perhaps there's another meter added to accommodate an addition or a build out, and things can get crossed. So it should be good, but again, there's no guarantee. So that's why we do monitor it, and we do request copies of the bills and try to streamline that process. So we're not asking you for the bills, and that's why we usually, part of our typical process is to sign an authorization that just grants us access to follow and monitor the bills to make sure that any changes that we did bring to the table remain in effect. But it shouldn't revert back to itself. But again, we're there to just make sure of that.
That's awesome. I'm excited, and let's talk about the foundation. We just thank you for your participating in our first annual. Now it's going to be second annual instead of the first inaugural. So Jamie Lowell can rest easy. Came on, talked about it, supported that, and you came up with this idea, and I'm always looking for creative ways. There's a ton out there to help with the foundation and the work that we're doing, and I'm really optimistic. We're just going to start pushing this now for everyone to give it a try. Like unless there's for some reason somebody out there hates me or you, and I'm sure there's a few people in Michigan that hate me, but not a lot. So there's no reason why not to do it. So you tell them what you kind of proposed to me and what we're doing, and then I guess I can go into like what we're going to use the money for.
Yeah. So what I proposed pretty much splitting revenue. Doing it 10% of all our proceeds. The way we bill is off of savings, and I guess I didn't get into that in the earlier conversation, but when we do deliver success, which is in the result of either refund, savings, or both, we take a percentage of that. So that's how we generate revenue. We are not the non-for-profit. But that said, we in turn approached you, Ryan, to just offer 10% of our proceeds directly towards the foundation. We look at it really as now it's a risk-free win-win. Either we don't find anything and we move on, and I still hit you up for a little donation to the Redemption Foundation, or we do find money, we generate revenue for ourselves, and of course pay it forward directly to the foundation.
Yep.
So I'm excited.
So am I. I think there's sky's the limit on this one. A lot of potential, and as some people know, working with us, sometimes it takes a little while to get things rolling, but once we do something, we try to do it really right. So thank you for your patience as well. But we're really focusing on the foundation end for everybody out there. We're really we're supporting the Michigan Cannabis Freedom Coalition and all the clemency and the great work that they're doing along with Force Detroit, but also we're really zeroing in on Glen and Great Lakes Expungement Network. We really only had a half a year of expunging records. Kevin's another participant in that. Everything we come up with, Kevin's our guinea pig. It's awesome.
I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
So we've expunged, we're zeroing in on 400 records, and that's something, and as we learn more about it, people are like, oh, the state's doing it. The state, I saw General Nessel and the sheriff from Saginaw do this dunk tank thing. Well, part of it is not a lot of people necessarily trust the police still that have gotten records, but then they just sign you up. And then there's a whole thing like you're gonna need fingerprints. You're gonna need to talk to the court. Possibly, you might need to be represented. You might need to have one of our lawyers talk to them to get. So we're really taking that next step and doing really the whole process for everyone. So the more people that hear about it and get expunged, the more money we need to raise. But it's tangible. Everything that goes into Glen goes right into expungement. As the nonprofits go, it's 100%. There's no salaries. There's nothing out of it. So people can rest assured, not only if they get money back from Isaac, all the money that we get from him for Glen is going to go right into that. So it's going to be big, and maybe this will be the program that helps fund a lot of the expungements. So we need that help for sure. So I got a question for you, Isaac, and you can come back to that if you want, the foundation, whatever. But I love talking to people that are work in the cannabis industry and go from different states. What was your first impression of Michigan? Because I know we got a reputation of being kind of wild, and compared to the other states. And how did you learn to adjust?
Yeah, I would say when I first approached Michigan, I didn't know what to expect. Right, my experience was mostly related to Colorado. We've done work in other states like Massachusetts and Florida, Maryland, but Michigan, I wasn't prepared for, I guess, the inner battle with what happens, when you talk some of the other big boys of the industry versus the whole caregiver thing. And that was just getting started when I was approaching the industry. And I really have to credit a lot to this podcast, the Smoke and Roll podcast, of really educating me on the Michigan industry as a whole, to better understand what was going on behind the scenes, what you don't really see reported in the mainstream media out there, in the LinkedIn world, if you will, and really getting a better understanding of what was going on. So, I've had some whoopsies, along the way where I've, tried to gain credibility by leveraging some clients that we started out in the early days of Michigan, and that certainly backfired. I certainly learned quickly who to mention, who not to mention. It certainly set me on a more altruistic path, if you will, which is really so much more enjoyable to really fill a need and do something for the community that goes along, that feels right. Just almost like as a consumer, when you go into your dispensary and you want to make a choice of which product to purchase. I mean, you'd hope you'd factor in a little bit of what the brand stands for and what they're behind. And we know the path to legalization was paved from those that were unfairly prosecuted and for those that were picked on, and to just especially now partnering to touch base with the Redemption Foundation. It means a lot to us as a company to be associated with something like Redemption Foundation and what you guys stand for, what you're out to do, and now with the all expungements. And I mean, it couldn't be. It's our greatest honor to really do good for good, and we're grateful.
Yeah, Isaac, you had mentioned listening to the podcast. He's not full of shit on this whole thing. There's been several times over the last, 2 or 3 months that, Isaac has hit me up after a podcast and said to me, asked me a question about something, or simply just said, hey, man, you guys did a great job today. I thought you guys' insight was amazing, and I'm learning a lot, and I really enjoyed myself. So thanks for putting on that show. So I appreciate you, being true to your word and listening and taking it to heart. You and I never got into it, whether or not you consume cannabis. I'm not really sure what the legalities are in New Jersey there, but I know when you walked into my grow and started walking around, you did get a pretty big smile on your face. So I can only assume that you have some kind of connection to cannabis, whether it be just through business or through personal experience. But my question for you, I guess, is I have a really small grow. I'm a Class A grow. I don't have a ton of electrical usage, but you guys were able to get me a substantial amount of money back. When you've done these audits before, I mean, what's the largest rebate you guys have seen on your end from a cannabis company?
Yeah, Kevin, I am in New Jersey. I don't think New Jersey knows the legality yet either. It's been quite a mess here. So they're still trying to straighten that out. And it looks like hopefully mid 22 we'll see some progress as far as them rolling out regulations for adult use here in New Jersey. But I still get a smile. That smile I had, even though it was a small facility, I probably walked through, I don't know if it's 75 or 80 different grows across the country. I still get that smile every time I walk into the door. It's tremendously rewarding to work in the cannabis space where so much is missed. Like you said, a small grow and still a lot of money back. If I had to put a number on it, I would say it's in excess of $250,000 for one of the big indoor grows that was granted also operating very inefficiently. And that one is in the works now in Florida. We pulled through something around $200,000 for a grow in Maryland, without saying any names. So it's not all that uncommon for these to definitely exceed six figures. It's obviously much less likely on smaller growth to find something that size, but there's really no one size fits all as far as expectations. I would estimate sometimes you can get up to 10 to 15% as far as savings go on a monthly basis of your total bill. But there's no cookie cutters here. Everyone is individual.
So let me get this right. I just want to clarify. So it's no upfront cost. You guys only take a percentage if you actually make money, and I might be able to get $250,000 back. Is that right? Am I misunderstanding something?
No,
And redemption gets part of that too.
Don't forget redemption. Absolutely.
Well, that's exactly why I've held off this long, Isaac. I was waiting for this to happen.
Nice.
All right. I'm glad it sounds like you're ready now, Tom.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yep.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of Tom could show you around Kalkaska. So Isaac, you did this in Michigan, and your company New Jersey. Was it hard to get it approved with your company? And are you guys looking at the same, after you guys see how it goes here or not, but looking at other states, or is there other states doing what we're doing, I guess, too?
Yeah. I mean, personally, I've been focused on Michigan over the last 12 months or so, ever since I got into this state. We certainly have clients in other states. Other marketplaces include Colorado, which is our largest client base, as well as Massachusetts. And they're very progressive as far as mandating efficiency measures. I don't think you're even allowed to use HPS over there, or they're trying to cut back as much as possible as far as limiting the amount of energy per square foot that you're allowed to have in a grow. So there's certainly other states that we focus on, but personally for us, Michigan is where I've been looking, and I take that trip probably once every 3 to 4 weeks from Jersey to Michigan, just to see clients, check in, do another walkthrough, and just see what we can do to help.
Have you done any in the UP yet?
Yeah, actually, we did our first one in the UP last month. Our engineer Bob was out there in the UP, and he had to battle the snow and wind and all that good stuff. He made sure to let me know that he prefers the Florida ones, but very limited licenses down there, so there's not all that many out there. But we did our first UP. I have not personally been up there, but I'm excited to make my way out there, maybe on the next one.
Yeah, definitely. It's like another world. We did a vendor day trip in August, and we're gonna go back again as well. So, but definitely in the summertime. Well, now I'm super excited, Isaac, and looks like Tom. Tom, you got a follow up? No, I saw you come off the mute, but no, I just wanted to, I'm really excited to have you on, and even with Kevin, it sounded like, I think we're good to go for put this on TV for as seen on TV infomercial. This was awesome. So
Yeah. So Isaac, is there any application to residentials on any of this stuff? I mean, should people be reviewing their at home bills and making sure that they're classified correctly? You guys do any of that, or do you guys have people that you work with that do something like that?
It's an interesting question. We don't really handle the residential, but I'm interested in taking a look as far as when it comes to caregivers, when they're growing, how that might apply and what we can do on that. To date, our focus has just been on the commercial, just because it takes a tremendous amount of effort to go through the bills and understand what's happening. And to date, our company is really just focused on where there's a lot more juice to squeeze, if you will. So we haven't really looked at the residential side and caregiver market, but it's certainly something I do want to take a closer look at moving forward.
And it's an interesting concept, Kevin, especially with caregivers maybe not wanting to talk to the energy companies about their energy bills and the things that are going on. But there's as that progresses and as that gets solidified with the what the state wants to do, that'd be awesome. You could put that out and go through that, because Lord knows those are some big bills too. But really excited Isaac was on. I'm really excited about this program, and it's cool to be able to do this podcast and talk about things like this and get this reach. So I wanted to let Tom and Kevin and Isaac say goodbye before we go, and then we'll see you guys next week. So Tom, go ahead.
No, I'm gonna go dig up that bill, man. I'm gonna send it on over. All right.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Good to see you again.
Likewise.
Happy New Year, man.
Yep.
Kevin.
Yeah, I'm excited for Isaac to get his ball rolling here in Michigan and helping some people out. It's a big deal. I mean, it's like I said, it's a substantial amount of money, and this can help out a ton of people. And I'm looking forward to what it can bring also to the Redemption Foundation. Ryan had mentioned earlier that earlier this year I got my marijuana charges expunged from my record. I'm looking forward to the future of not having to explain that to people when I potentially want to borrow money or apply for a job or anything. So I think it's a great partnership, and I really appreciate Isaac you being open to doing something like that, and for you reaching out to us and also taking a true interest in the podcast and learning more about our industry, because I think that's super commendable as well.
Yeah, we when we started it, we didn't know. It's pretty cool. People, someone like you's listening to in New Jersey and learning. So it's been a great road. So Isaac, thanks for coming on. Do you have anything you'd like to say before we go? And what's the best way to get a hold of you? Anyone can always get a hold of me, but you direct, and let's get this going.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. I mean, if people are on LinkedIn or the Facebook groups in the Michigan cannabis industry, they can reach me directly there, or email is always good. It's isaac@greenlightec.com, so they can get a hold of me one of several ways. For the as far as wrapping up, the podcast has been so beneficial just for me. So I mean, it's funny, I feel like I should be the one thanking you for that instead of the other way around. I mean, anyway, my inbox on LinkedIn is full of people trying to figure out how to get into the cannabis industry in general and the Michigan market, sometimes in particular. And I always steer them in the way of educating themselves on the local market and really becoming an insider to what market they're trying to serve. And I commonly steer them to podcasts like this one. And I feel like this is just the best way to go about it. Just smart business wise, but it's also just, it's good to know who you're servicing. There's more to it than just going out there and trying to make a dollar. It's really understanding your market and knowing what you're doing. So again, thank you guys so much for having the podcast, for inviting me to participate. It's a tremendous way to start the new year, and this partnership with Redemption is for sure the most exciting thing I've been part of in quite a while. So I'm just very grateful to be here and grateful to get the message out that it doesn't hurt. Have us take a look at your bill, see if we can come up with anything. So thank you all again, and Happy New Year.
Yeah. Thank you, Isaac. I just wanted to say, like you said at the beginning, everyone out there that's listening that's not a grower, if you're an ancillary business, and you listen to the show, tell your growers if they're some of your clients, you can, the worst case, it's 30 minutes of their time, and best case they get a bunch of money, and the foundation is going to be able to expunge records. And I will say this because it's been we talk a lot about it on the show, and on who we can work with and who's not based on MCMA and all that. But my point of view is that when it comes to expunging records, I think the MCMA should pay for everyone's in the states that's got a marijuana crime. I think they should pay for it all. So if we're going to save money, we'll do this with anyone. It's going to expunge records. I think that a lot of the people like that should be paying for this. Let's expunge everyone's record. So we'll take it all. We're ready to do this and get this out there. So with that, appreciate everyone this week, and thank you again, Isaac, and we'll see you next week.